Hello, my name's Alexei Novitzky, theoretical physicist and lifetime practitioner of meditation, and today I would like to introduce the dimension of conscious density. But before we get started, if you could just go over just very nice and calmly, everyone stay calm when we do this, but just hit that like button, ring the notification bell, and then hit subscribe. Or subscribe then notify, whichever one works better. So today, we'll be going over conscious density, and in the simplest terms, it's the thickness of your experience. We'll also see how the thickness of your experience relates to your ability to interact with UAP. The brain primarily operates on 6 waves: delta, theta, alpha, beta, and then slow and fast gamma. And what we notice is that as your brain harmony or the frequency increases, so does the thickness of your experience. Delta is associated with deep sleep. Theta is associated with dreaming and waking up. Alpha is associated with just being nice and relaxed. Beta is you're learning, you're cognitively processing information. Slow gamma, you have heightened perception, and then in fast gamma, you might be having an out-of-body experience. When it comes to a resonance being manifested in our 4-dimensional experience, it has everything to do with the 5th-dimensional vortex of time. This shows that each harmonic is associated with a rotation. So 1 hertz is associated with a rotation of 1 hertz. 4 hertz is associated with a rotation of 4 hertz, and so on. What we see in the crystal of time is that each one of these habitable experiences is associated to acceleration towards center at light speed. So we can say that the diameter of each wave is related to acceleration towards center at light speed while flying tangential. This is an orbit through time. What we have is an experience accelerating towards center at light speed while flying tangential. And while it does that, it follows along the habitable spiral of perception, meaning slowly and slowly drifting inward. So from our perception, we get something called the now moment. And what we notice is that every orbit is related to a harmonic resonance. And so from here, you can create the table of universes, where earlier we were talking about the waves, the delta through fast gamma. So when you consider acceleration towards center at light speed while orbiting, you see that each one of these has a specific diameter. And what you realize is that the diameters are 1/4 the size of the one that's bigger. And so the next experience that we could theoretically perceive is called the Aliverse, or the omega wave. And it would have brain harmony of about 101 to 220 hertz, centered around the frequency of 160. So we also have something called the circadian rhythm. And what that is our daily fluctuations of conscious density throughout the day. And so based on the circadian rhythm, you can estimate the location of, you could say, the center of consciousness in relationship to the vortex of time. So what I've done here is map out our daily orbit of density through the vortex of time. And I wanted to show you this primarily so you can see how each one of these orbits relate. And so when you're in the delta harmonic, you're only harmonizing with that red ring. That would be the biggest rings of experience. And then what you'll notice is that the theta harmonic is the one that is 1/4 of that size. So if you go to the theta harmonic, you see that it's 1/4, right? So you're harmonizing with all of that energy. And then here you can see that you're harmonizing with this energy. This is alpha. After alpha comes beta, which looks like this. And so then we also have slow and fast gamma, which harmonize next. But so based on how our consciousness harmonizes and the different diameters of conscious density, you can map out your consciousness through density. Where you see that right here from 11 p.m. to 2:30 a.m., you're flying through delta, and then you're coming back inward. And then when you hit theta at 2:30 in the morning, that's a different harmonization. And at this moment, this distance is when we see a lot of UAP interaction. And so as consciousness drifts inwards, it follows our daily orbit. At 5:30 a.m., we go into the alpha wave, where we're now harmonizing with these, with the red rings here. But the alpha would be the green section from 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then you go into beta, and then you do a tight orbit in here into alpha again, and then you go back into beta, and you go back into alpha throughout the day. So you switch from alpha and beta, but there's this moment right here, almost perfectly halfway through the day, when you could say your consciousness is more on this side, and then it orbits back through again. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. But that's what shows us that our consciousness is gyroscopically processing through the vortex of time throughout the daily orbit. So consciousness is like a gyroscope hanging on a string at a 90-degree angle while orbiting through the dimension of conscious density. So that comes back out. And so that's just in general how your consciousness awakens and experiences thicker and thicker vibrations, levels of vibration within the vortex of time. All right, if you thought that was cool, check this out. Our conscious precession is controlled by 4 local spheres of energy that are tidally locked. Let me show you. What I have on the screen right now is your daily orbit of consciousness through time. This is represented by the purple sphere, and this line represents the orbit. So this would be, so if you start at midnight over here, this would be about 6 a.m. over here. Come around, this would be noon. Come back around, this would be about 6 p.m. and then back to midnight. And now in our last video, I talked about tidal locking. And so I want to show you how our consciousness acts as if it is controlled by four local spheres of energy that are all tidally locked. So if you come back out and you just start at, let's say, midnight, and you have all of the 4 local spheres in the same direction. Remember, when they're tidally locked, it means that they orbit in a 1, 2, 4, 8 relationship, meaning the red one orbits 1 time for every 2 times this orange rotates. The green will be going 4, and this blue one in the center would be orbiting 8 times. So if you were to consider your consciousness is made of 4 energies, you could say that your center of conscious experience would be in the middle of that center of mass or center of energy. So starting at midnight, you can see that you're right here. And so we're going to just look at these orbits and how they relate. Each one of these is basically an hour and 30 minutes. So an hour and 30 minutes later, it'd be 1 in the morning. You can see that you're about to jump into the theta. And what I want to show you, though, is the relationship to the 4 spheres as they orbit around. So your blue has already gone halfway around, your green has made a quarter turn, your orange has made an eighth of a turn and a 16th of a turn. And you can see that your center of gravity is now here. If you go to this next drawing, you can see that, again, the blue has now done a full rotation. The green is halfway around. This has done 90 degrees, and we're here. And you can see that the purple is, again, in the center of mass. We're just going to say mass, even though it's your consciousness, and these are 4 fifth dimensional spheres. And so now this next drawing represents 6 a.m. And so now you can see that these 2 spheres would be here and here. This one would be on this side. And at 6 a.m., your red sphere is up there. And so you would have the purple offset more towards the red side. And so as this system continues to orbit, what you notice is that your consciousness follows the center of, in quotes, mass of the 4 local spheres. And so when you come to noon, as your consciousness goes back towards delta, but doesn't make it all the way, you notice that you have the blue sphere here, the green sphere is hidden right now by the purple one, the orange sphere, and the only difference between noon and midnight is this red sphere. When this red sphere is all the way over here, you get a pulling, right? And so you can compare the 4 local spheres at noon compared to your 4 local spheres at midnight, right? So you see these are all in a line. Again, you see these are all on a line, but the red one is on the opposite side. And so we're going to continue orbiting, meaning all these are going to orbit at their tidally locked rates. And you'll see how consciousness again loops back up. Now you have 2 here, 2 here, this one here, and the average is in the up direction. Again, coming back through, it's an average of all the masses. And this next drawing represents 9 a.m. So at 9 a.m., you see that, let me just do this real quick to help us out. There we go. You see that these are all lined up again. So this is the opposite of, so look at 9 a.m. Your red's down here. You have your green, your blue, and your orange. Now let's look at 6 a.m. Right? It's the same setup here. The only difference is your red's up here. So 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. are like complete opposites in that regard. This is 6 p.m. Sorry. And that's just so fascinating. And so then it keeps going. If you watch, you can see that, again, you just follow the center of mass. And eventually we do the full 24-hour orbit of consciousness. And you're back at your starting point. And so that shows how the purple goes around. And then at noon, it comes back. And then it goes around again. And at midnight, it reaches out here. One thing that I've been talking about a little bit lately is something called dimensional alignments, and how there could be a peaking of your conscious experience as the 2,178-year alignment happens. And now if you want to relate this, just this, now if you could say this is our normal universal experience just going through, right? And then every 2,178 years, our conscious experience of universe gets pulled outward. It gets tugged outwards. So that has a lot to do with the dimensional alignments that I talk about with the 2,178-year cycles. So you can see that our actual experience of consciousness is going to be tugged outward. And it's interesting when you relate that to the UAP phenomenon, because we notice that at certain distances, we're able to interact with certain fields, for example, the theta field is this area right here. And that would be around 2:30 in the morning, as well as this one, which is about 10:30 at night. Around here between these two would be 10:30 at night. And so when you consider our entire experience now being tugged out on a 2,178-year alignment, you could almost imagine that our consciousness will be this far out. And so I wonder how that relates to consciousness perceiving information from the Thetaverse in relationship to UAP. So if you like the content, please like, share, and remember, let's be casual, guys. Walk over, nice and calm, hit the like bell, subscribe, get that notification, and if that's still not enough for you and you really want to support, I just set up a Patreon account. You can go set up there, or see if I can grab it. You could check out the infinite pool of experience and awareness. I have that at luciuslabs.com. So check it out. It's pretty cool. Thanks for your time.